Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. Recently, they announced the All-Star, the All-Star starters for both conferences. Not the All-Star starter, the players that are going to the All-Star game. I'm actually trying to see where I saw the starters. Okay, I got it here. This is actually from NBA.com. So we want to put it up for you now. We're just going to go through the Eastern Conference starters. We have Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Karl Anthony Towns. And then the All-Star reserves are in the East: Jaylen Brown, Pascal Siakam, Darius Garland, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Damian Lillard, and Tyler Hero. If we head over to the Western Conference, this is where things are a little bit tricky. We have Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, SGA, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, and then for the reserves, Anthony Edwards, Anthony Davis, James Harden, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jalen Williams, Şengün, and Victor Wembanyama. So with that, they came some snubs, right? There's some notable guys that were left off the list, and this is exactly what they were discussing on a segment on ESPN yesterday, right? I think they were doing it during maybe a halftime show, some game that they were covering. So they had the panel there and they were discussing it, and then Kendrick Perkins decided to step forward and say, hey, look, I'm going to say what a lot of people are thinking, which is, I don't believe Stephen Curry should be a starter in an All-Star game. And it created this kind of back and forth. So what we want to do now is we want to play what Perk had to say yesterday on ESPN First Take and why he took this bold position. And then we're going to come back and really give you guys our thoughts on that and then really expand the topic. So take a listen to what Kendrick Perkins had to say here.
I know that it's really hard to get, as you said, where he was voted by three other categories besides the fans. But isn't that what this game is about? If it's not about the fans, who is it about? It's about who they want to see.
Listen. Right, when I look at a guy like Steph Curry making the All-Star game this season, and I look at a lot of guys like Kyrie Irving, Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox, just in this conference who had better seasons than, or playing better than him. Look, I'm gonna say the quiet thing out loud. Steph Curry should not be an All-Star. He shouldn't. Guys are playing. You still look. No matter what the fans want, no matter what the coaches want, no matter what we want, who we want to see, this still you have to earn to be an all-star by your production. And if you're looking at the production around the league, it's guys in the Western Conference that have better numbers than Steph, and their teams are in better positions than Steph. So, what? Am I lying?
The host of the All-Star.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you're trying to, first of all, we've got bigger fish to fry. We're trying to save the game and not just a player on a roster. And Steph Curry, the same way LeBron James, the same way Kevin Durant, the same way a number of these legends of the game are participating. You need him in this All-Star game. He's literally working with the commissioner to try to make sure everyone is available to play. I can hear your point. He's only averaging 22 points per game. His team is right now 24 and 23. There are cases, we're coming off the heels of talking about LaMelo, right? His team is 12 and 32. We also talk about how deep the West is. He is like their bright spot on Golden State.
So what? Here's the thing. So you're gonna punish other guys that are deserving because you're saying we have bigger fish to fry. So forget the goldfish.
No.
Because you weren't about the tuna.
No.
That's what you're telling me?
I don't think any of those guys in the West that got snubbed will look at Steph Curry starting and saying, man, I should have had a spot. I don't think so.
Listen,
part of it,
with him being in that spot,
50% of the starters were fan vote. Then it was media. Then it was players. So I'm sure he still got players' vote. He still got media's vote. But most importantly, Steph is one of the best when it comes to getting the fan vote. I can't agree with you.
I get it. And you don't have to. And we're not going to agree on this because, again, this comes down to production. And who's been producing. It doesn't, though,
because as Malika said,
it can't come down. It can't be nothing else.
If it was just about production,
what is
we wouldn't have the fans voting.
So hold on, time out. So making an All-Star game is not about production anymore?
No, it is. It is. But
Brian,
it's a mix.
What do you think of this?
If Steph wasn't in the game, it would be a disservice to the fans.
I agree.
And I know that was the point you just made, Malika. I would just say that on balance, while Perk is making an interesting argument, I think we have good all-star teams.
So you heard what Kendrick Perkins had to say there, right? So let's get through some notable snubs. You have Ja Morant. Now, I think one of the reasons people are going to hold Ja out is because of the games that he missed. Some people are going to say, well, Ja Morant didn't play enough games, so therefore he shouldn't be considered. But his teammate made it on the team as well. So Ja Morant, his team, he missed out, although he's averaging 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 7.5 assists. And if you look at his team in the Western Conference, his team is a third in the Western Conference. This season, how many games has Ja played? He's played 28 games, right? 28 games. His team is what? 33, 32, and 16. He's missed a good amount of games, but it's not like as if he hasn't played any games. Another notable snub, and one that a lot of people were kind of pushing for, was Norman Powell from the Clippers. And I actually read earlier this morning that after we found out that Norman Powell didn't make the team, James Harden, after he found out that Norman Powell didn't make the team, he ended up contacting him. So it was either going to be James Harden or Norman Powell. James Harden has the better numbers. I think he's averaging a double-double. So they ended up going with him. Another person that got snubbed from the team is Devin Booker. Now, Devin Booker, who's a great two guard. If you look at where the Suns are right now in the Western Conference, they're currently the 8th seed. So they're not like falling out of the standings, but he didn't make it as well. One can make an argument, how come Kevin Durant made it, but Devin Booker didn't make it, and they're on the same team. You have Trae Young. You have he's another one there that seemed a lot of people are talking about. You have LaMelo Ball from the Charlotte Hornets. He didn't make it as well, although his team isn't really good, and he's missed some games. And of course, we have Kyrie Irving, who didn't make it as well, but neither did Luka Doncic because he's been injured, in the Dallas Mavericks are the 9th seed in the Western Conference. So what are my thoughts about this? Let's talk about Kendrick Perkins' main point, which is the starters and Stephen Curry and these guys. Look, I think the reason is Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James started is because the NBA needs the ratings. These guys are their biggest draw. These 3 guys right here. So to have KD, LeBron, and Stephen Curry is a must, right? I think it has everything to do with the ratings. Obviously, it's going to be held in the city where Stephen Curry plays. You also have to have him on it, have him start as well. But I can understand Kendrick Perkins' point, right? It would have been nice to see some of the younger guys get some of those starting spots, but to their credit, they got one guy up there. But I think from a marketing standpoint, maybe you get Anthony Edwards, in the starting lineup. But hey, I could be wrong about that. Maybe you even get Victor Wembanyama in the starting lineup just to kind of start marketing some of the new stars. In the Eastern Conference, it isn't really that controversial. I have no problem with Giannis. I have no problem with Jalen Brunson. I have no problem with Donovan Mitchell. I have no problem with Jason Tatum. And I have no problem with Karl Anthony Towns. I think they got that starting 5 right. Those teams out there in the Eastern Conference are playing pretty damn good basketball. Over there, the Knicks are the number 3 seed. So I think they got it right. I think they definitely got it right there. But I can understand what Kendrick Perkins is talking about. Like maybe they're more deserving guys, but hey, the NBA ain't really looking at it like that. You also have to sell the game, right? You also have to sell the game. The Golden State Warriors aren't really good at their 11th seed, but hey, you got to sell the game. So I get what Kendrick Perkins is saying, but you can't leave those guys out. As you guys know, Bronny James has dominated the headlines for the last 48 hours or so. A lot of people have been talking about his performance against the Philadelphia 76ers, playing against Maxey and these guys. He didn't play well at all. But then he played again, I think, the next game where he scored 5 points. He had an M1 that went viral all over the internet. People were talking about that. But in the aftermath of that game against the Sixers, a lot of people were just saying, like a lot of people were talking about Bronny. And one of those people was Stephen A. Smith himself, right? Stephen A. Smith went on this show and basically was pleading to LeBron James to stop what he's doing with Bronny James because he believes that it's not helpful to him. So what happened this morning? I was going through the internet here, and I came across an article from Awful Announcing, and they were basically reacting to some comments that was made on the Dan Patrick show, where Dan Patrick was essentially poking fun of Stephen A. Smith and essentially calling him an actor for some of the stuff that he was saying on television, and basically suggesting that a lot of what he said wasn't genuine. But before we even get into what Dan Patrick had to say, I want to quickly play what Stephen A. Smith said on ESPN, because really that's what he's reacting to. So take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith had to say there.
I'm really, really trying to be as respectful as I possibly can be towards LeBron James. One of the top 2 or 3 players in the history of basketball, number 2 in my eyes. A treasure to the game of basketball that we should and will all miss when he is gone. I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this. Stop this. We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad. The first game of the season, opening night, the Griffeys in attendance, father-son duo playing in an NBA game for the first time, an absolutely positively wonderful story. And then reality sets in. We love what we're seeing from him in the G League because that's where you belong. As you hone your skills and you get better and you legitimately earn, which I believe he has the potential to do. I am rooting for Bronny James. It would be cruel to root against him. He's a wonderful kid. I wish him nothing but the best. But he's LeBron James' son. And everybody knows what attention that brings. Molly, Doggy, put them up on the screen because I want to see their face when I say this. Right now, Bronny James is averaging 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds. You know what people are saying. You know what they're going to do to this kid. In 13 games, he has played 44 minutes. He has scored 4 points. He is shooting 1 of 16 from the field, 0 for 7 from three-point range. How are you doing him favors? We know that he's not ready yet. And I'm saying this with compassion. I'm asking the greatest player in the game, one of the top 2 players in the history of basketball, an ambassador for this game, the face of the league, a 4-time champion, a guy that's gone to 10 NBA finals, one of the greatest we have ever or will ever see, who is a basketball savant. You know, better than me, better than Doggy, better than JJ Redick, better than Rob Pelinka, better than any basketball analysis or analyst that exists. You know what these numbers mean. You know what it's going to do to your son, to people who are missing out on opportunities, that are busting their tail on other NBA teams in the G League, in Europe, and everywhere else, what kind of opportunity they're starving for. You're exposing your son like this? I know I'm not questioning LeBron James' intent as if it's dishonorable, Doggy. It's incredibly honorable. He's a wonderful dad. I swear to y'all on everything I love, I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way. I'm simply saying, to have that moment on game 1 of the NBA season is one thing. To propel it to a point where he's on the bench, he's in uniform, he's taking up a roster spot, and now you're giving him time in the first quarter, and you see the absence of production. How are you helping him? I just don't get it. I really don't see, I really don't get it. I really don't.
So you heard Stephen A. Smith's original comment. So when I clicked on the video, Dan Patrick and he has 2 other chaps that work with him, they were basically laughing at Stephen A. Smith. And he were basically saying, yo, Stephen A. Smith, you acting like as if they sending him out there to Afghanistan or something like this. And I'm like, yo, this is pretty crazy. So what we want to do is want to play what Dan and these guys had to say there. And I'm going to come back and give you guys our closing thoughts. Take a listen to that to this here.
You're not sending him to Afghanistan. Good God.
I've never been that serious about anything.
Oh, my God. I wasn't that serious at my mom's funeral. Stop this. Stop this. Pleading with you. Wow. If you didn't know the context, but I just said, listen to his voice, you'd be like, oh, my God, somebody passed away. What happened?
I'm really, really trying.
I got to give him credit for the delivery, though. It's awesome.
Oh, he's a great actor.
Awesome.
No, he's great. Absolutely. There is always theater. And then he's got to get in the maybe second greatest of all time. As a father, I am pleading with you. I am begging you.
It's like throwing the towel, like Rocky IV. My gosh, what is going on?
Oh, he got into a basketball game. He's not in Iraq. Like, let's be. Oh, play it one more time.
I'm really, really trying to be as respectful as I possibly can be towards LeBron James. One of the top 2 or 3 players in the history of basketball, number 2 in my eyes. A treasure to the game of basketball that we should and will all miss when he is gone. I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this. Stop this.
Would you give now? Would you give $20 a month?
Operators standing by. Yes, Paul.
What if the next morning LeBron James called a press conference and said, Stephen A., you're right, we're shutting this all down?
Yes.
Like that was the tipping point.
Yes. I finally had some clarity. Now I realize what I'm doing as a father to this poor child. He gets to play for the Lakers. He gets to be a professional basketball player. Yes, there's nepotism. But I think I'm being a pretty damn good father. You know? I got him to the NBA. He's getting paid. Yeah, he gets embarrassed when he gets in, but that's okay. He's learning. He's learning on the job. Yes, Todd.
But as a fellow human who enjoys the sport of basketball, let's end this madness once and for all.
It sounds like Liam Neeson in Taken.
Michael Jordan didn't put his kids on the Wizards.
So you heard what Dan Patrick had to say there. You heard they were laughing at him, basically calling him an actor. What are my thoughts on this? Well, I think it's multi-layered. I think that I understand where they got the actor part because some people do feel like Stephen A. Smith tries to oversell some of his views, especially when they, like, if you look at the things with the New York Knicks, a lot of people feel like he's a fake New York Knicks fan and all of that. So there's kind of been these murmurs that have been percolating out there. So you have that. Some of it I also think is because they're saying that he's like being over dramatic with the way he delivered his message about the Bronny James situation and all of that. But to be honest with you guys, that's Stephen A. Smith's style. He can be over dramatic or he can do stuff like that, right? Where he looks like he's pleading for you to, release this prisoner that's Bronny James or whatever it is. That's his style. But I also understand what Dan Patrick is suggesting regarding Bronny James. I think if Dan Patrick views the entire thing as not a big deal, then I think he shouldn't feel a type of way when people make fun of Bronny then. Because if it's not a big deal, then I don't want to hear people crying about, oh, people are being too harsh to him and all of that. Because if you do that, then I'm going to say, but I thought you said it wasn't a big deal. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the audio, he was even applauding LeBron James and saying LeBron is such a bad father that he got his son in the NBA, that he got his son paid. So maybe people like Dan Patrick are saying that, look, some of you guys are taking this way too seriously, right? Some of y'all don't really need to take it this seriously. And if that's the mindset that he wants to promote, then I think that some people should just, if Bronny plays like crap, call it out, laugh about it. And if he plays well, praise him, and that'll just be it. One moving circus all the way to the end of the season. This morning, I was going through the internet looking for content to produce, and I came across a pretty interesting article here from Awful Announcing, where it says, Charles Barkley and Shaq argue over who's responsible for fixing NBA All-Star game, right? I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. So I click on the article, I begin to read it. And then it turns out there's an audio that we're going to get to momentarily. But let's just talk about this for a second. We all know that the last 2 All-Star games have been the worst in the history of the sport. The worst. Lowest viewed games ever. But beyond ratings, right? Because some people like to say, well, ratings doesn't really reflect whether or not the product is good or bad. Regardless if 50 million people saw that game or 5 million people saw those games, those are horrible basketball games. Those were horrible basketball games to watch. Even Mike Malone called one of them the worst basketball game he has ever seen in his life. You had former President Barack Obama calling the NBA out on it. You had they had to go out there and try to coax, get some of these NBA legends to go out there and coax these guys to play. It was horrendous. There's no 2 ways to slice it. It was terrible, absolutely terrible, and a total waste of time. Last game they almost scored 400 points in an All-Star game. There's no other way to describe that than embarrassing, right? An absolute joke. So what happened? These guys were discussing this on the panel on Inside the NBA, and essentially they were trying to figure out, well, who's responsible for fixing this. So what we want to do now is we want to play exactly what Charleston, Shaq, had to say about this issue here, and then we're going to come back and react to the comments. Take a listen to these guys here.
I'm telling you.
I hope that we're able to figure some out, to be honest with you, because the All-Star weekend.
It's nothing to figure out.
Yeah, it is something to figure out.
You have to take pride.
What's your philosophy on who you gonna pick? I'm just talking about.
You got to take pride.
As long as I've been in the NBA, except the last few years, it was the highlight.
Sure.
It was the biggest thing that happened all year. Like the players were like glad to be there. Every star was there. The NBA made a big deal, and you always talk about all these,
Did they make you want to play hard? No.
Well, because I'm playing against other great players. You're going to play hard. Okay. So I'm not going to, if you don't play hard, they're going to kick your butt. Okay. But also, you just it was like Kenny always talk about, it's like a postcard, all the guys walking around. Okay, and we done lost some legends now.
Okay, but what do you mean when you say they got to figure something out? They who?
We're part of the NBA family.
No, they.
But we're all part of the family.
They have to go in and take pride like we did and say, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate it. Huh?
It's on the players. 100%.
That is why I don't want no old heads on my team. I don't want guys who think this is their 20th All-Star, 15th All-Star, 10th All-Star, 9th, and they're going to be like, I'm good. I'm here for the weekend. And no, I want guys who are going to be showing up going, you know what? I'm here to kick some butt.
Yeah. Let's hope we get that. Let's hope we get that on All-Star Weekend in San Francisco.
Watch my team wins it. 8.
Meantime,
I get 8, right, Ernie?
Let's hope we get some laughs from
we're gonna get some laughs.
The latest episode of Shaq and a Fool.
So you heard what these guys had to say there. I think they're 100% right. I think Shaq is 100% right. It's on the players. Like, it's on the players. Who are we even kidding here? It's on the players. It's on the players. It's up to these guys to decide whether or not they're going to give a damn or not. Now, we also got to look in the direction of the commissioner who has created this environment for this to exist. The latest idea he has is he's proposing. No, he's not proposing, but he says he's thought about an idea of 10-minute court. Oh. Bro, this dude, man. Adam Silver, bro. This dude is terrible, man. Adam Silver is terrible. This dude is terrible, and I'm not the only one that said it. Yesterday, I was watching a segment on Gil's Arena. The moment they brought up his comments, the first word that came out of Nick Young's mouth was right after that. He goes, "When does this contract expire?" Like, it's just like, yo, this dude is terrible. Like, he is terrible. Adam Silver seems to just be about making money. He's like, to hell with the fans, to hell with the heritage. Let's just go out there and make money. And whatever happens, let it happen. Let's just make this moolah. You know what I mean? Let's just make the money, and it is what it is. I mean, his ideas are just terrible. Anyway, so it is up to the players. But Adam Silver created this situation where it's player empowerment. And now all the players are thinking for themselves. They're no longer thinking for the game and what's best for the game and what's best for the fans. They could care less. They could care less. And if the players' attitude is they could care less, then the fans should be, then I don't care as well. I mean, I think the fans should reciprocate it. Regardless of what Adam Silver or the NBA fans, players want to say, The driver of revenue here is fans. Them tuning in, them attending games and all of that. They're the ones that are driving revenue. And I think that what they understand is that fans are going to show up no matter what. No matter what. They could be sitting in the front row. You could be pissing on them. They'd be, oh, man, this is great, man. This is great. I love it here. They're just some fans like that. Some of them have no self-respect whatsoever. It's just a new era of the league. This is the only NBA where you can have NBA fans chanting MVP for the 55th pick for him scoring 5 points. MVP. That was just something I couldn't even believe. I forgot what team they were playing against that did. It was the Wizards. The Wizards. DC, y'all should be ashamed of y'allself. Y'all should be embarrassed for y'allself. And I was born in Maryland, so y'all should be ashamed. How do y'all even sit there and start, like, what is wrong with that? That was an embarrassment. That was a straight up embarrassment. As somebody that was born in Maryland, DC area, whatever it is, DMV area, y'all was embarrassing. How y'all gonna sit up there and be cheering for somebody scoring 5 points? Like, is it that bad? I understand that the Wizards got the worst team in the NBA. I understand that y'all are stuck with Jordan Poole. I understand that you got a 60-41 or 42 record or whatever the hell it is. But that's how low the Washington Wizards have fallen, to be chanting MVP for somebody scoring 5 points in your arena. My God. I would have rather you guys chanted MVP for LeBron than chanted MVP for Bronny scoring 5 points. Like, yo, what are we doing? But this is where we at in 2025. This is where we at, and none of this don't really surprise me at all, man. None of this really surprises me. None of this catches me off guard. I'm like, oh my God, I'm stunned by all of this. This is really shocking. Nah, it just is where we are. I'm just trying to figure out. I'm in an NBA game, and Son just scored 5 points, and I'm up here chanting MVP. Like, yo, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? I can understand, like, Celtics fan being pissed at Kobe being chanted MVP in Boston. But he had like 56 that game. Or like 47 or some stupid number. But at least he's putting forward a great effort. Y'all over there chanting MVP for somebody to score 5 points. Like, yo, DC, y'all should be embarrassed for doing that. Like, that was y'all was looking crazy. Y'all embarrassed all of us.